Good morning, beloved community. I want to call this our nurturing hour, right? So, welcome to this special place created for you to have someone check on you, right? Selflessly. So, I want you to take a deep breath and grab your tea or coffee or water, and let's dig in. So, I am Dr. Shemya Vaughn, and I am the creator of A Cup of Therapy. On this channel, I am talking to women of color and gender non-conforming people who live with anxiety and depression. This channel is for people recovering from childhood trauma. We often don't get the mothering and nurturing that we need, even as adults. So on this channel and in my wellness coaching practice and in my therapy practice, I help women and non-binary folks improve their mental health, um, create a life they love, right? And heal in community. I teach them how to build a community where they live so that they're not only relying on professionals to support their emotional health. So this YouTube channel, it does not constitute a therapy client relationship or a coaching client relationship, right? This is just for educational purposes. I am a licensed therapist in California and Missouri. So women who live in one of those states, they can always contact me on my website for a free consultation to decide if we're a good fit. Because just because, I'm talking about all these different things that I do, that doesn't mean that my approach would work for you. Additionally, I am also a wellness coach, right? And I offer one-on-one individual coaching sessions and a group coaching experience. So those are things that are described on my website as well. So in this episode, episode 7, right, we're going to focus on boundaries, right? How do we establish them? How do we communicate them? How do we enforce them? So let's dig in. Okay. Have you met people who weaponize boundaries, right? A lot of therapy talk and language is being used these days, especially on social media, but it's being weaponized. And what I mean by weaponized is that they use it to like make someone else feel bad. Example, they create rules for you to make their life easier. Then they call those rules boundaries. What the fuck? That's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are healthy ways for us to take care of ourselves. We communicate them, right, to other people to explain why we are saying no to something or to someone. But boundaries are for us. They are for us. We set boundaries to help us learn our own limits and live according to our own values. That's the purpose of boundaries, right? This is a boundary. Let's get some examples here to make it make more sense. A boundary. If Uncle Jack is coming to the picnic, I'm not coming. He has caused sexual harm to other relatives. I'm not coming. That's a boundary. The rule, what we usually hear is don't invite Uncle Jack to the picnic. If you do, you're supporting a sexual predator. Don't do that to people. Don't do that to people, right? Um, do you see the difference though between those two? The boundary is talking about your behavior, right? And the rule is telling someone else what to do. A boundary for yourself says you can have 3 pieces of dark chocolate per day, not the entire pound, right? That's a boundary. It only affects you, right? It's only about you. Now, sometimes we make requests, right? But these are not boundaries. If I ask you to love me in a certain way, or I ask you to support me in a certain way, that's not a boundary, that's a request. So a request for your friend says, I need you to show up on time when we have plans and let me know when you will be late. That's a request. That is not a boundary because that is not about you or your behavior, right? A boundary, though, in that same scenario with the lateness, a boundary is I will wait 15 minutes before leaving if you are not on time, right? So you're letting their friend know, hey, if you're going to be late in 15 minutes, I'm leaving. So if you are running 15 minutes late, I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. A rule and a request for your partner says, I need your parents to call before they come over, right? I'm talking about like a couple living together, right? Can you communicate this to them for me? Can you tell your parents to call and not just drop by, right? How can we reflect on this irritating and inconsiderate behavior of someone else's parents to create a boundary for ourselves? Right, so saving our marriage and protecting the relationship with the in-laws, that's part of the agreement to be together with someone. But let's be honest, there is no way around this one but through, right? So you can ask the spouse to communicate a request to call before stopping by. If the in-laws continue to stop by unexpectedly, however, you can choose to socialize with them or sequester yourself, in another room in the house for solitude, for privacy, or you can go for a walk, right? To take a break from them. But once you are calmer, you can restate the request your spouse made by asking them to call before stopping by or set up weekly, bi-monthly, monthly dinners so that together, so that time together is more predictable, right? But again, that example, it's all about a request or a rule. It's not even about a boundary. A boundary to your child, for example, says, I need 15 minutes of quiet time alone. When you get home from school, when I get home from work, I need 15 minutes before we can start, going back and forth. I'm going to set this timer, and when it goes off, I want to hear all about your day, right? Kids understand timers, but do you see how that's not a rule for the kid, right? It's you're saying, I need this. I'm going to set this timer, and then I'm all yours. It is important for you to establish and communicate a boundary. We assess what we need and we communicate it clearly, right? Ideally, the person accepts it and honors it and all is well. You may need to remind them every now and then, but if you establish it, if you communicate it, people that love you will honor it. Example, right? I know we have tickets to this play 7 p.m., on Thursday, right? You get off at 6. Can you leave work early enough to meet me there on time? I need you to show up on time when we make plans, right? So I will wait at the ticket counter until about 6:45, and then I'm going to go inside, right? I hope you can join me. If you cannot make it by 6:45, it is okay. We can get together some other time. There's a request and a boundary in that example. The request is please be on time, like leave work early so you can be on time. The boundary, though, is I'm going in without you. I have the tickets, right? So there's no way for you to get in without me. So if you're not on time, that's okay. I'll do this event by myself, right? The boundary is about you and your behavior. Now, the first part of boundary setting is hard. How do you tell someone what you need without sounding mean, right? Someone who cares for you is not offended by a boundary. They're like, oh, I didn't know it was that important to you. Of course, no problem, right? A strong relationship, it can survive a boundary, I promise. Honoring someone's boundary is an act of love. So I'm hoping you do that. If someone sets a boundary with you, you honor that without debating things with them. That's a need they have. So after you set the boundary and do a few reminders, you must enforce it. Example, if you tell your child that you need 15 minutes of quiet alone time and they interrupt you before the timer goes off, you can stop the timer, review the boundary, and start again. That's how we enforce things. We don't let it slide this one time, right? Because remember, we're honoring our needs. But let's agree not to punish someone for ignoring a boundary. Have the conversation to make sure they know you mean it. Your friend is late arriving to an event, you can either leave without waiting for them or go home if you don't want to go to the event alone, right? But again, you cannot let this one slide with boundary setting. That's just not how boundaries work, and that's not how people work. You have to be consistent with this boundary setting. Finally, when someone violates your boundary more than once, it is clear they are communicating two things to you. Number one, your needs are not their priority, and they prefer things to go back to the way they were when you were ignoring your own needs, right? You must change this situation by changing your behavior, not insisting they change theirs. You limit your time with them, or you end the connection. So setting a boundary, it is your right. Communicating the boundary, right? So setting a boundary, communicating the boundary, it is your right to do that. At the same time, it is another person's right to ignore it, right? You cannot control how a person responds to you. That's not your job. You can control what you do about it. So I am going to add the, you know what, I'm going to write myself a little reminder here to add it's called the Personal Bill of Rights. I want to add that to the detail section of this YouTube video because it's a very important document. It is not mine. I did not create it. It's a PDF that I got from someone else. I was actually taking a self-defense class. And the woman running the self-defense class is an LCSW. She's a licensed clinical social worker. And she gave all of us a copy of the Bill of Rights. And the class was large enough that we all went around in a circle and read one of these statements out loud. It was powerful. It was powerful. So I'm going to share this with you, right? Okay, Personal Bill of Rights, episode 7. Okay, that's not going to be a problem, right? So I'm adding this Personal Bill of Rights that I'm talking about, and I'm making the notes so I don't forget, so that you can see everything you are entitled to just because you're human. When you are beating yourself up, it is always good to read some of these statements aloud to remind yourself that you deserve grace just for being human. You don't have to earn it. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's check in for the week. Okay, so what is going to be your priority for this week? I want you to really sit with this question, right? Review your to-do list, your planner, maybe it's digital, maybe it's a hard copy. And do you see a theme for this upcoming week? So this is Sunday, so you're looking at Monday through Saturday, right? Do you see a theme? Are there tasks on this list that are not aligned with your values? Like, do you remember why you even scheduled some of the meetings or made plans with some folks? For example, right? Did you agree to take a neighbor's dog to the groomer because the neighbor is ill? This is such a nice idea if you have the space for it. Rather than squeeze favors into your already jam-packed schedule, make space for it. If you're going to be a nice person and do something kind, make the space to do the kindness, right? And that means arriving to work late or leaving early or canceling another plan. Do not create stress in your life, right? To do a favor for someone else. That is not what they're asking you to do. This is not how you show someone love. This is not how you nurture yourself at all, right? Another example is that you have a meeting this week for a project that is due at the end of the year, right? Is meeting weekly for a December deadline the best use of your time and other people's time? Perhaps you can start a Google Doc, right, where everyone can share and they can talk about ideas and plans instead, and only meet if there are decisions to be made, right? If we need to have a conversation. Get creative about how you are spending your time so that you can be more efficient and make more space to do kind things for yourself and kind things for others. As you learn to center your needs, make sure you're spending your time in a way that honors what is important to you. Right? I'll get off my soapbox about that. So, second question, who or what drained your energy last week? Right? So, did you notice yourself being more irritable, more short-tempered, more resentful, feeling resentful last week? Reflect for a quiet moment. Pause this video. I'll wait. Now that you have had time to think about it, who or what caused you to feel irritable or resentful? This person or this thing is your energy drain. They or it, right, is making you feel emotionally exhausted. Do not blame the person, place, or thing. Nope, nope. This is all on you. This is all on you. Part of centering yourself, living a values-based life, and choosing you is owning when you participate in your own suffering. If something or someone is emotionally exhausting, are they or is it worth the exhaustion? I will help you out here. If we are supporting a friend going through a breakup or a divorce, this emotional support is temporary and it is worth it. Oppositely, if we are coming into work early and leaving late, but being asked to also come in on the weekends, this is not temporary, nor is it sustainable. And unless you are receiving a promotion and a raise for all this extra work, it is not worth it. I am not here to tell you what to do, but being a good worker only gets you more work. A good employer promotes you and engages in raise negotiations versus exploiting you. If you are coming in early, leaving late, and working on the weekends without a promotion, without a raise, that is exploitation. Okay, supporting a friend during a difficult time, worth it. During the work of 2 or 3 employees without promotion or raise, not worth it. Energy drains. Okay, question 3. Who or what made you feel complete and whole last week? So growing up with emotionally immature parents can leave a child to feel emotionally lonely. It is hard to prove to authorities, CPS, Child Protective Services, but emotional neglect is just as harmful as physical abuse, right? Children feel unwanted, they feel disliked, they feel invisible. These children do not magically stop feeling this way when they become adults. So it's about you. If you grew up feeling emotionally lonely, there are times as an adult when you may still feel this way, right? You're hanging out with a group of friends, but feeling like no one wants you there. You're on a date, right, with your lover, and suddenly wonder if they're just being nice or if they really enjoy spending time with you. You're going to happy hour with coworkers and feeling like you do not measure up to them. When I say emotional loneliness in adulthood, that's what it looks like. Those are some examples. This is a terrible feeling to be surrounded by people and still feel alone. So this is why I asked the question, right? Who or what made you feel complete or whole last week? It is the opposite feeling. We all know what it feels like to be lonely. Thus, I want to know, when you look back on last week, when did you feel the opposite of lonely? When did you feel whole? When did you feel complete? And was it a person, place, or thing? Okay, question 4. Who or what did you avoid last week? Right? I'm going to help you out here too. Here's a list of people you may have avoided last week: parents who are emotionally immature, siblings who are emotionally immature, coworkers who are emotionally immature, friends who are emotionally immature. By the way, if that fourth one is right, get new friends. Okay, so do you see the pattern here? We often avoid people who are emotionally immature because it is hard to communicate with them, and they deliver monologues versus having a deep and stimulating dialogue with you. These are not people you connect with on a deep emotional level. And they often have poor communication skills, right? That's why we avoid them. They're annoying to spend time with, right? But you can't avoid them forever. You will need to decide how you want to change how you interact with them, or simply interact with them less, right? So here are some ideas for going low contact with emotionally immature people. Allow them one phone call or text message exchange per week, right? And don't give me that look. You are already avoiding them. You are already avoiding them. I am just providing some structure to it. Okay. Another idea: schedule time limited weekly or monthly calls, coffee dates, to limit the interactions, right? Again, you are rolling your eyes like, oh, this won't work. But it has been 3 weeks since you emailed your coworker back about that one project, right? Again, I'm just providing some structure. I'm just trying to help you out. Another idea, though, if those first two don't jive with you, um, each time they text you, you reply after 24 hours, right? To slow down the communication. Even if they text frantically, 10 to 20 times before you reply, only send one brief reply the following day. If you give yourself space to reply, it is less likely you will leave them unread, for a month, right? So if you give yourself like an internal deadline, then it won't be, oh my God, it's been a month, right? And a reply, I'll give you the reply. Hey, I am really busy this week. Let's meet and talk and catch up next week. When is a good day and time for you? Right? So you wait 24 hours and then you invite them to schedule some time with you. That's how we stop avoiding people. Intentionally delaying the interaction gives you space to get a break from them, and it gives them ideas of being intentional about spending time together, right? Okay, so that's the people part. But here's a list of things or places you may have avoided last week: laundry, the DMV, the IRS, the dry cleaners, the donation center, the volunteer organizations, right? We know we've let things fall. Do you see a pattern here? There are things that we should be doing, or places we should be going or calling. These are unfortunate, right? These are unavoidable adult things that are required of us. Or are they? Laundry is a requirement because we need clean clothes. We do not want to go around others smelly, right, with dirty stains everywhere. However, I am not ashamed to admit that I have worn something extremely dressy to avoid doing laundry just for one more day. right? I'll go to work or something and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you look nice." And I'm thinking, "Yep, laundry day." Right? I have also bought either new underwear or a whole new outfit just to avoid laundry day for a day or two. So I might get more, right? That is an easy procrastination fix. Laundry is. But if we are avoiding the donation center or volunteering, we should first make sure we want to give away the items in the trunk of our car, right? And if we do, again, going to work late or leave early to drop the shit off. There is no human way. Please listen to me. There is no human way to work 9 to 5 when most businesses are also open 9 to 5. Use sick time or PTO, right? Or again, be an hour late or leave early. You do it for medical appointments, right? You do it for other people that need you to do something for them, right? If volunteering is important to you, right, but you have been avoiding it, this means you did not make space for it, or you lack the energy required to keep up the commitment. Be honest with yourself, prioritize your own needs, make space for it in your calendar by canceling other things, or tell the organization you're unable to keep your commitment. It is so okay to change your mind, to disappoint people. It is also okay to rearrange your schedule to make time to volunteer if it gives your life meaning and purpose. Not because you don't want to let someone down. No, no, no. We're not going to go down that track. This is about meaning and purpose. Okay. Question 5. What boundary did you establish that you want to enforce this week? Right? We just talked about boundaries. We just talked about boundaries, right? So reflect on your last week. Where and when did you experience distress? Pause the video to consider these moments. I'll wait. Now that you have a few examples in mind, let's brainstorm a boundary you can set for yourself so that you are not distressed as frequently. Distress is a part of life, right? We can't be stress free. That's just not how life works. But we can adjust our distress tolerance to meet the moment. There is no need to live with chronic stress. It's not healthy. That shit can kill you or give you illness or autoimmune disorders, right? No way, no way, right? You do not deserve chronic stress. I don't even know you, and I know you don't deserve that. There's someone, maybe the commander in chief, that might deserve it, but you don't deserve it. All right. So, to resolve or remove chronic stress from your life, you will need to create a self boundary. I'll just add a add a precursor to it, or add a self boundary or two, right? Maybe more than one, to honor your own emotional limitations. So I asked you to pause the video and do some reflection, right? So I'm wondering, um, what caused you to experience stress last week? If you are like most people, it is work related. It is usually not the word duties that people complain about. It is usually the people they work with, right? If coworkers or managers, supervisors, anyone in a leadership position are causing you stress, remember who you are, an employee. This is not your business. And these people are not your friends. If leadership asks you to do something that you know makes no fucking sense, do the damn thing and mind your own emotional business. Do not get caught up in what's not your business. If a coworker, a peer, right, is causing you distress, interact with them as little as possible. Overall, it would be nice if you could decenter work while you're at it. Build a life and an identity outside of work So you are not so invested in what does not matter at work. It doesn't matter. It's not your business. You have no stock options, right? You have no stake in the game here. You are not a stakeholder. You're not a stakeholder. If you love what you do, make that your focus, right? Okay. I know that was a little harsh. I'll try to be more gentle. Okay. Question 6. Who gave you emotional or financial support last week? In the 90s, there was this movie, Poetic Justice. And the Janet Jackson character, I don't remember I think her name was Justice. You know what? I don't want to get to lying, but she had some unusual name, some, unique name in the movie. And I think Justice was her name. Anyway, so she pulls out this Maya Angelou quote during the movie. And it's the quote, "Nobody can make it out here alone." Let that sink in. Nobody can make it out here alone. Truer words were never spoken. I know most of us were raised not to ask anyone for anything, right? I know we learned if we want something done correctly, we should do it ourselves. Two things can be true. One, we could not depend on our family when we were children and adolescents. And two, we may have asked people for help in the past and they messed things up or did not keep their promise. And so that's how we learned those lessons. It's not that someone set us down and told us these things. We learned through observation and experience. So the lesson learned was not do it all yourself. The lesson learned was ask the right person. Who is the right person, right? An emotionally mature person. These people will keep their word and they will let you know immediately what they can and cannot do. And I love examples, so I'll give you an example. An emotionally immature person will volunteer to drive you to the airport at 7 a.m., knowing they have to be at work at 8 a.m. And there's rush hour traffic, right? That reality. So at 7:15 a.m., when you're supposed to be at the airport at 7 a.m., they have not arrived yet. And when you call them, they explain they can't give you a ride after all, or they'll be late for work. And they act pissed about it, right? Like, how dare you even ask me? No, you volunteer, let's suck it. So you hang up, you call Uber, and you promise yourself never to ask anyone for a ride to the airport again. Remembering and getting even more angry because you never asked them, they offered. This is a better example. This is an emotionally mature person, okay? You ask a friend to give you a ride to the airport at 7 a.m. They explain, oh, yes, I would love to, but I have to be at work at 8 a.m. It would work so much better if you could just sleep over at my place, the night before, so we can both leave together. I can drop you off at the airport on my way to work. See the difference? Because they're emotionally mature, they've already considered their own needs first, and they want to still be kind to you. And so they've come up with a way to make it easier for them to help you. Now back to the question. Last week, you had a need. You either asked someone for help or someone saw you struggle and offered the help. So who was this person? How did they help you? How did they support you? Right now, I am traveling throughout Paris and Amsterdam, and I am constantly amazed at how helpful strangers are, carrying my heavy suitcase up flights of stairs for me, right? Stopping to explain how to use the transit systems, etc., right? They even correct my French when I'm in Paris so that I have an easier time the next time I have a similar need. There are good people in this world. So who were the good people in your life last week? Okay, next question. Who did you support emotionally or financially last week? It can either feel good to help others Or it can feel like you are being used when you help others. Let me help you here. If someone asked for help and you smiled at the thought of making their life easier because they do and would do the same for you, helping feels good. They smile and say thank you. You feel good that you were able to release some of the stress in their life, and life goes on. It's all like it's definitely a fun day, right? The feeling used part is a bummer. When someone asks you for help, or more likely, they complain about something until you offer to help, it is easy to feel used because they never help you. You have asked, and it's always an excuse. Oh, I have to work. But you know, they take a day off to get their hair done or their lashes done or to have their car detailed, for important events or random dates. For a stranger, they tend to help out. But when it is you, the person they call relative or friend, they never have time. Another scenario is never come out and ask for help, right? That part of it. They just complain until you offer to help, right? Oh, my bank account is in the negative and my rent is due on Friday. I don't know what I am going to do. And you know them. So your line is always, how much do you need? I can help. I'm going to give you a tip. Next time they start complaining, express empathy because you're a human, right? But do not make an offer. Make them ask for help directly. So we can put it all out there that I'm helping you out, right? When you're thinking about this scenario, mind your own emotional business. This kind of person does not help others, making the people that help them feel used. Mind your own emotional business. So I hope you helped the person who makes being generous with your time and your resources feel worthwhile. Who was that? What did you help them with? And how did that make you feel remembering it? Okay. Question 8. What new habit do you need to start practicing this week? Or what old habit do you want to stop doing? Right? So usually I end these videos by asking you about habits. I want to try something new this week. Instead of ending, and we're talking about action, and I want to ask a new question at the end of this video. So stay until the end of the video to hear this new question I'm going to ask. And then let's jump into talking about new habits and old habits. So a new habit is usually something positive. You have been making promises to yourself to start a new pattern, but you have not gotten around to it. It is not too late. As long as you are breathing, I guarantee you it is not too late. What new habit do you want to start practicing? This is not something you will do 7 days a week starting tomorrow. Let's be real, like stop making those ridiculous plans. We are human beings with full-time jobs and grown-up responsibilities, so we barely have time to exercise or cook dinner, right? Wait a minute. Are these new habits? Are these some new habits you want to start? Maybe you want to start a new exercise routine. Maybe you want to cook more at home to save money, or on DoorDash or an Uber Eats and eat healthier. Okay, so I'm going to use these as examples just in case I hit a nerve. You cannot go from not exercising at all to exercising 5 days a week. I don't care what the medical provider says. You also cannot go from ordering DoorDash while sitting in traffic to coming home and cooking every night. Start small. If it is exercise that you want, I call it body movement to expand the definition and the activities allowed. Make plans to do this once a week per month, just once a week, right? Work out the logistics, right? Sign up for a yoga class or take a martial arts class, right? If you must do the body movement at home for financial reasons, you can start stretching during commercial breaks if you're watching a TV show, right? If your new habit is to cook at home, start by picking out some recipes you want to try. Pick another day, another day to go grocery shopping. And then the following day, leave work a little early to get home and start cooking. That's how you chop things up into small pieces and start new habits. So these are some ideas for small steps, right? Small steps look like deciding what and when and how, and then taking the action later that week or the next day, right? Depending on what's going on. Old habits, old habits are a little harder, right? They're different, but the same in some ways. So we want them gone, but they have lived with us for a while now and become a part of our identity almost. So we want to ask them to leave gently. Examples are quitting smoking or spending less on unnecessary items, right? So if you want to quit smoking, for example, it is best to do this with a formal smoking cessation program. Hear me out. The smoking cessation program, it has a facilitator and built-in peer support, right? Those people are going to support you to quit a lifelong habit. It's worth it, right? The other example, if you are trying to decrease compulsive spending, right? Impulsive spending, that also has a support group. You know how they have Alcoholics Anonymous, AA? If you put anything in front of Anonymous, there's probably a group for that, right? So spending money as a hobby, it means you feel empty and unfulfilled in other life areas. People call it retail therapy for that reason. Buying things you do not need will not improve your mental health. But perhaps meeting with a group of people or getting some therapy from a therapist who specializes in addictive behaviors may make this old habit leave with more ease. When you're trying to get rid of an old habit, I just want to introduce the idea of asking for help or joining a community of people that are also trying to get rid of the same habit. Similar to the new habit, you cannot just toss cigarettes and never pick up a pack again, right? Nor can you cut up all your credit cards and just start jogging instead of spending. You will need to make a plan and try it once a week. Choosing means you change the people, places, and things that make leaving this old habit behind. It makes it harder, right? That's choosing you, right? So I want to say that again. Choosing you means that you're going to change the people, places, and things that make this old habit a part of your regular life. Do you have coworkers that you take smoke breaks with, for example, right? You will need to find a new way to spend time with them. Do you have a favorite shopping website, right? You will need to remove it from your bookmarks and your search engine history. So these are small steps to prepare you for your new life. Like I knew this guy, he was trying to give up drinking, right? So he's sober maybe 30 days, but he lives near a bar. He changed his route to work, to and from work, so that he didn't have to see the bar each time and be tempted. He's just changing his route to work. So what about you? What new habit will you try this week? Or which old habit are you ready to release? Okay, thank you for waiting to the end. I want to end these videos giving you something to think about. What is one thing you're looking forward to this week? I pause for dramatic effect. If the answer is nothing, I want you to spend 30 minutes planning something to look forward to this week. It is time to make space for you in your life.